Hello and welcome. I am Excellite and this is my channel. Today we're going to do another in the subject of evil doctors. Because I've recently gotten a strike on my channel from YouTube, we're going to leave any doctor that has anything to do with a guy that had a tiny mustache and spoke German. We're going to leave those out and hope that that's good enough for YouTube. That's not what I got my strike about, by the way. That was a video about historic, creepy photos. Before we get started, if you would please give this video a thumbs up, I would appreciate it. It does help it to be seen, and it does help the channel. Also, if you are not subscribed and you would like to be, please go ahead and do so. And if you click that bell, it'll notify you when my content goes live. All right, guys, keep your fingers crossed, okay? Here we go. And one more quick note. This is my asthma season, typically. So if you're thinking, can that girl just clear her throat? I would if I could. So please excuse me if my voice gets too raspy. It'll pass. All right, here we go. Our first one is Dr. Giant Patel. Giant Patel. Patel was a surgeon born and trained in India. In 1984, he started practicing in Buffalo, New York, where he was soon fined and placed on 3 years probation for not examining his patients prior to surgery. His New York license was eventually revoked in 2001. He moved to Oregon in 1989 and soon fell under scrutiny there. 8 cases led to malpractice or wrongful death. Claims from his co-workers stated that he operated on patients who were not even on his roster, or sometimes other doctors' patients, that he operated unnecessarily, and that he caused serious injury and death. In 1998, Kaiser Permanente restricted his practice, prohibiting him from operating on the liver or the pancreas, and requiring a second opinion for other surgeries because clearly the guy is nothing if not a rule follower. And by the way, there's a joke that says, do you know what they call the guy who finished last in his class in medical school? Doctor. The Oregon Board of Medicine made the restrictions statewide in 2000 after reviewing 4 cases resulting in 3 patients' deaths. Patel became the director of surgery in 2003 at the Bundaberg Base Hospital in Australia. He had been hired by Queensland Health Program, the Area of Need program. He didn't disclose his actual credentials. Oh my goodness. We need to be afraid. Fortunately, his inadequacies were soon noticed, and nurses were said to hide their patients from him when he was in the hospital. In 2005, news of the injuries and deaths connected to him hit the media, and soon the news outlets were flooded with other stories. He then returned to Portland in 2006. A few months after that, he was issued a warrant for his arrest and then extradited. Charges included manslaughter, causing grievous harm, and fraud. But I just want to put my 2 cents in here for a second. He shouldn't be the only one charged, considering he was allowed to continue to perform surgeries even when he'd killed other people. It kind of makes you wonder who hospitals and insurance companies are letting you be seen by. And I'm pretty sure that I've been seen by a couple of these doctors. In 2008, Patel was extradited and convicted. However, his conviction was overturned on appeal. Upon pursuing outstanding charges in 2013, Patel pleaded guilty to 4 charges of fraud and was ultimately sentenced to 2 years in prison. But that was wholly and completely suspended because of the time he had already served in jail for the convictions that were overturned by the High Court in Australia. This guy is still a surgeon. Holy cow. His name is Giant Patel. Avoid. Wow. Next, the house call serial killer. This is one that was requested, actually, and was a good thing because it was coming up. Even Rob said, I hope you're going to do Harold Shipman. Not like that, though. More like a chimney sweep. You know, Rob, I had to say it. Here we go. As a child, Shipman became interested in medicine, watching his mother suffer and die from lung cancer. After earning his medical degree, he began to practice as a GP in Lancashire, England. However, in 1975, he was forced into drug rehab after becoming addicted to the opiate pethidine and having written many fraudulent prescriptions for himself for it. In 1977, he moved to Hyde, where he started a thriving general practice, but a local undertaker soon noticed that Shipman's patients were dying in unusually high numbers and often found in similar positions, sitting up or reclining on a settee. Another colleague also noticed the same, and the coroner was notified and then referred it to the police department. At first, Shipman was cleared of suspicion until an 81-year-old died under suspicious circumstances. Her family noticed that her will had been changed to make Shipman the primary beneficiary and suspected that it was forged. They were also concerned that the death occurred shortly after a home visit from the doctor, despite her being fine before he came to see her. They requested that the body be exhumed, and her cause of death was found to be a morphine overdose within 3 hours of her death, overlapping the time Shipman had been at her home. An investigation started, and it was discovered that Shipman encouraged families to go ahead and cremate. And if they raised questions, he would show them computerized medical notes that corroborated his cause of death that was listed on the death certificate. The police discovered that the altered notes happened directly after killing the patient, as each alteration had been time-stamped. While Shipman claimed to have called emergency medical services in front of the families and then called back to cancel the request because the patient had died, telephone records showed that no calls were ever made. He also exhibited drug hoarding behaviors, falsely prescribing morphine to patients who didn't need it and overprescribing it to those who did, and then visiting homes of the recently deceased to collect unused medications for, quote, disposal. Shipman was eventually found guilty of 15 counts of murder and 1 charge of forgery, which is minuscule because an audit after his conviction actually put the number of victims that he had murdered at around, I hope you're sitting down for this, 236 people. He went on to commit suicide by hanging himself in his jail cell shortly after his conviction. And that's going to be it for today. I have another part coming up very shortly. Gets even crazier. Thank you for coming, and good night.